Hi everyone. This is Zubair and this is Zach.
Hi. Zubair, you really shocked me by starting this one off, but okay. So we're on the second word and we're going to continue from there.
Little changes are good.
They are. So then today you can read.
Oops.
So I guess we can remind them what the ayat is and where we left off, and we can go from there.
We are he's just taking revenge. We are at the page 27, the second word from the Risale-i collection by Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. The second word, the last paragraph of the page, the last visual sentence. The ayat at the top is Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, those who believe in the unseen, or we said by the unseen, by means of the unseen.
Yes, or even through the lens of belief in the unseen.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm just skipping to the beginning of the sentence. He also heard the sounds of a drum and band for the enlistment of soldiers with happy calls of God is most great and there is no God but God. Rather than being grieved at the suffering of both himself and all the people like the first miserable man, this fortunate man was pleased and happy at both his own joy and that of all the inhabitants. Furthermore, he was able to do some profitable trade. He offered thanks to God.
This basically summarizes what we talked about in the previous two videos, I think.
Then bye.
But it's good. We can real quickly go over it. So the happy calls of God is most great, Allahu Akbar, and what that meant. We have no qualities to begin with.
Yeah.
Our qualities are relative and not real. They only show the real absolute one's qualities because they are unseen to begin with.
Yeah. If we are attached to the qualities themselves, or we see this, the things as the source of the qualities, then we are going to suffer.
Exactly, which is then what looks to La ilaha illallah.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so they both go together, Allahu Akbar and La ilaha illallah.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that death can be turned into a general discharge that we are celebrating.
You're right.
Otherwise, as the person who is egocentric, and so which means seeing all the qualities that a person is manifesting to belong to that person,
or the thing
itself, and not to God, then he is going to be
suffer.
Yes, he's going to be grieved.
You're right.
At the suffering of his own suffering, and the suffering of everybody else.
He sees everybody suffering.
He sees. Here, this is very interesting. Rather than being grieved at the suffering of himself and of the people like the first miserable man. So not everybody will think like this. But he's suffering from other people who are also egocentric.
Again?
He's suffering from, he is grieved at the suffering of his own suffering and the suffering of everybody who thinks like him. Everybody who is egocentric like him.
I didn't contribute to that.
It means that the person who is God altruistic, somebody who doesn't put himself in the center of the world, but puts God in the center of the universe, for lack of better words, in the center of his own universe maybe, then that person does not cause him suffering, does not cause anybody suffering. That's what the author is saying here.
Well, I didn't contribute again. The first man who is miserable, who is, the selfish man, understood or comprehends, accepts that he is suffering and everybody else is suffering. So why there's an exception of the ones who are selfish?
It's going to come in the next paragraph specifically,
okay.
But what I can understand from here is that...
Did you get my question?
Yeah, yes, it's a good question. But what I understand is the author, I think as we're reading that will become more explanatory, we'll understand it more a little bit later. But he is grieved at his own suffering and the suffering of the people who think like him.
Because in the first paragraph he said, for everyone seemed to be enemy and foreign, blah, blah, blah. Everyone is in a state of torment. Everyone was suffering for him.
Yes, but if...
Now there's an exception.
Yes, now there's an exception because if another person who has this this God-centric belief, he's not suffering in the first place.
He doesn't look like suffering.
And he's not in reality causing anybody to suffer because he himself isn't causing it, the person, the egocentric person might
yeah.
see him as suffering. I don't know. Or the lack of his suffering might cause him pain. That's a different issue. But who's actually causing the suffering here? Who's actually causing the grievance? Himself and people who think like him.
So the selfish man who is suffering for himself and who suffers for the others, probably when he is going to see a devout man who looks like happy, even though he might be in some trouble, who looks happy, he has some consolement inside, and he might,
despite the fact that all these bad things are happening.
Yeah, around him, he might say, the selfish man, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you cry?" or something like what?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Probably that what did reflect of him.
And so that might offer him some hope.
Well, yeah, you just bring me some hope. How did that happen?
And if he's honest, let's say, then
you're right.
he's like, wait a second, I see all these bad things happening.
Something wrong with you.
I'm suffering. You're not suffering. So either that means that something's wrong with you or something's wrong with me. And that's where we'll talk about it a little bit later. But that's
okay.
So that's one issue. And now the rest of this sentence goes on. This fortunate man, this God-centric man, was pleased and happy at both his own joy that he felt and that of the inhabitants.
Everyone.
Yes, everyone.
There's no exception.
There's no exception for him. I mean, that's interesting because since he sees the reality,
he sees the unseen.
Yes, he sees even the fact that somebody else. He sees the reality.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Remember, the surgeons are operating on a patient.
Yeah.
If you don't see the whole picture, whatever they are doing, they are just killing someone.
Yeah. Or look at from the position of the surgeons when they see a patient.
Yeah.
They're not grieved at the patient's sickness.
Yeah.
They're like, we can fix him. We can help him.
Well, yeah.
They're not hopeless.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the interesting thing. So the surgeons themselves who look at a patient who is suffering from his own pain, they look at him and say, this is a good opportunity.
They're going to heal you.
Yeah. We're going to heal you.
In terms of explanation.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
So that another person suffering doesn't cause them to suffer. It causes them to rejoice, and the fact that they can help this person.
Yeah. Bring hope or so.
Exactly. So yes. So furthermore, he was able to do some profitable trade, and he offered thanks to God.
What trade?
What's his trade? That's an interesting one.
Dollar exchange?
Well, what is the word trade will take on different meanings based on different perspectives or different intentions that somebody has.
Well, yeah.
I think there's two that we have in this life. Somebody who believes in the unseen and somebody who doesn't believe in the unseen. That's the ayat that's being discussed here. So
the business, the trade is the second time it's mentioned in the whole text. At the second paragraph it says, one time two men went on a journey for both pleasure and business. This is the first time. And now this is the second time, profitable trade.
Yes.
So whatever the business, the trade is, the first man, the selfish man, didn't have any.
Yeah. Or he wasn't profitable, at least.
Well, maybe, yeah.
But yes, it wasn't being mentioned there in his. That's a good point. So he was able to do profitable trade. Now, we have to understand this profitable trade in the context of the ayat, because every word that we use has at the very foundation, two different meanings, two different understandings. It's understanding through disbelief, and it's understanding through belief. And though they might sometimes seem very similar, they are, at the very foundation, completely opposite.
Okay.
And so when we talk about he did some profitable trade, we have to understand this word through the lens of belief in the unseen. So what kind of trade can you do? If we're all going to die, if we're not going to stay in this world, doing profitable trade in this world is meaningless. Going to work, making money.
What is the profit in the first place?
There's no profit in that.
You can't keep it.
Exactly. There's no profit if you can't keep it. So going to work, making money, feeding your kids, all of these things are empty.
Transient.
Yes, since they're transient, since this world's going to end, that's not profitable through the meaning of the ayat.
I just invented the whole mathematic algorithm. So what? And I'm just in the grave.
Yeah. That's not the profitable trade that's going to be. That's not being discussed here. That's the profitable trade understood through the lens of disbelief in the unseen.
Again?
That is how the idea of profitable trade will be understood through the lens of disbelief.
Well, I didn't get it.
Because if I invented all these things, all these algorithms, all these inventions, etc.,
Technology,
these great things. I worked a lot, made a lot of money. This is profitable trade. If I don't look at this existence through the lens of belief in the unseen. Because we're all going to die. There's no point. There's no point. It's not profitable for me. I can't take it with me, like you said.
But it says he was able to do some profitable trade and he offered thanks to God.
So that means we have to understand this trade through the idea of Tawheed. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God.
Well, yeah, but what is it?
It means that the profitable trade is whatever he's doing, it's increasing his understanding of Tawheed. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God.
That might be one understanding, yeah. I don't disagree.
There is no merciful one except for the all-merciful. There is no just one except for the all-just one. This is the profitable trade that he's doing. By going through this life and witnessing...
I'm just expecting some cash.
No, really, I mean, we can take this understanding of Tawheed, oneness in God, and expand it from just there's no deity except for God, to there's no just one except for God. As we talked about, I see justice in you, you're manifesting justice, compared to me, you're more just than me, but as soon as, I don't know, Muhammad ﷺ comes in, or Abu Bakr radiallahu anh comes in, or Umar radiallahu anh comes in, what happens? Your justice becomes?
Well, another question.
Wait. Your justice becomes injustice. Because it's relative.
Well, less justice.
It becomes, relatively it becomes justice. It means that you don't own any justice, it's just being manifested on you. But there is the concept of absolute justice, and that belongs to
I don't disagree with that, but I have something in my mind. So, trade includes, some giving and taking back. You need to invest first in order to profit more. So what is the investment in here? And then let's close with this.
The investment, the thing that I'm giving myself. I'm giving my egocentrism. I'm giving my selfishness. I'm giving that away. I'm saying that these qualities belong to God, to the Creator. So I didn't create myself. I didn't create these qualities. This is my trade.
So I get the unseen.
I'm giving that. And I get the unseen. I get Tawheed. I get belief back in return.
I just give up my selfishness in order to be a devout, or in order to see the reality.
In order to see reality, and in order to get belief in the unseen. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ.
See you next time.
Thank you.